Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagara Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paridana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Dindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Piyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome to our continued study of the Nectar of Devotion. So we'll just do a quick recap of Chapter 5. Chapter 5 was entitled The Purity of Devotional Service. Bhakti, it is so pure that it is independent or is not dependent on any material circumstance, any material condition. It means that pure devotional service is so powerful that it doesn't matter what is our birth, what is our level of purity, or our execution of varnashram duties. That pure devotional service can be performed by anyone from any birth. We can start regardless of how impure we may be. Doesn't matter how fallen we are, the mercy of bhakti will come and find us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Patita Pavana, the most fallen. And doesn't matter if we have executed our varnashram duties or not, we may perform devotional service. So then in chapter 6, Srila Rupa Goswami gave us the list of 64 angas of devotional service. Exactly how to perform Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And there were 64 specific items that were given to us. And the overarching principle of our Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, as we remember from the very beginning, is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. So each of these 64 angas, we should try to understand how does it help me remember Krishna and never forget him. So that is the point. These are not just rituals that one may perform, but they are meant to help us achieve this overarching principle. And the 64 angas do not come just from some, speculation or one's ideas of how to perform bhakti. But they are coming directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who instructed Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami compiled this very important book, this Hari Bhakti Vilas. And from there, Srila Rupa Goswami is presenting these 64 angas. And we said that there are some different categorizations. The primary, the first 10, the secondary or the primary section, the next 10, the first 20 comprise very important angas. And then there were 44 additional principles given. And within those lie the 5 most potent angas. So like this, there is some categorization. And Srila Prabhupada guided that the first three angas are most important. So we'll spend some extra time today discussing these first three angas, and then we'll discuss a selection of the remaining that are covered in chapter 7 and 9. And then we'll come back next week to discuss chapter 8 and continue forward in chapter 10. So the first 5 angas. Now in this book, the title of chapter 7 is very nicely presented as Evidence Regarding Devotional Principles. Now Rupa Goswami is going to give scriptural basis for each of the angas. This is the practice. It is not some mental speculation, one's idea or concoction, but it is actually based on Shastra. So in each principle, Rupa Goswami is presenting evidence, often from Srimad Bhagavatam, but also from different Puranas, to show the evidence of the potency of each of these angas. And the hope is that by reading them, we'll become inspired to follow each and every one of these angas. So this is the key. So chapter 7 discusses the first 18 angas. Now chapter 8 will take the 19th, which is the offenses to the holy name, and the whole chapter of chapter 8 is dedicated to this 19th anga of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. And then from chapter 9, Rupa Goswami picks up from the 20th and carries on. So that's a little bit of the structure. That is why we'll break up today. We'll focus on the offenses of the holy name and the sub-offenses, the things to avoid in next week in chapter 8. So, and again, as you might remember, from items 11 through 20 are things that one should avoid. 1 through 10, things we should do. 11 through 20 are things we should avoid. Of those, number 19 will be discussed in chapter 8. So a little bit of structure for the discussion. So the first anga is accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Now, if we're going to put together a list of 64 things to do, logic would suggest that we put the most important thing first. And Srila Prabhupada has commented here that this accepting the bona fide spiritual master, Guru Padashraya, is the most important anga of devotional service. And why is it most important is explained that it is the shelter of Guru that can instruct us on how to execute and how to understand the significance of the other 63 angas. So it is through the mercy of Guru that the remaining angas actually become possible for us. It explains the significance of them and how to actually perform it. So this accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is very important here, and it's explained how that develops. It is not just some fashion statement, some trend, oh, everybody else is doing it, I should do it. We should become inspired by those who've done it, but there should be a deep realization that inspires one to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So the first step is to recognize the absolute futility of the material world. This path of sense gratification is taking me nowhere. This should be our mood and experience. That it is futile to try to gratify the senses. When such a recognition and awareness develops in one's consciousness, then one feels a strong sense of urgency to pursue a spiritual path. The material world, it is hopeless. Nothing I can get from it. It is futile. But I have strong desire to pursue a spiritual path. That is the second step. And from that, one then becomes inspired to find a guide, a coach, a guru who can help us in the path of devotional service. So this is how one comes to the point of accepting the shelter of a spiritual master. And we can try to inculcate this feeling and this experience in ourselves and bring us to the point absolute futility to intense desire to practice spirituality to a desire to find someone who can show us the path. So Srila Prabhupada says here that one who is fortunate, I emphasize fortunate, enough to come under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is sure to traverse the path of spiritual salvation without any doubt. This is the last line. Again, one who is fortunate enough to come under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master is sure to traverse the path of spiritual salvation without any doubt. Such nice confidence Srila Prabhupada is building within us. Okay? So it is very rare to meet a spiritual master, a bona fide guru. And actually, Krishna sends a guru into our life when he sees that this jiva is sincere in making spiritual progress. One doesn't even have to go out and search, but actually Krishna will facilitate the bringing of guru into our life. That is his utmost mercy. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the second paragraph about what is a bona fide guru. One who has realized the conclusions of Shastra must be able to convince others to take to the process of devotional service. One must be fully sense-controlled. We talked about the 6 urges, Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, and Udara Pashto Vegam. These 6 urges must be fully controlled and taken full shelter of Krishna, leaving aside all material considerations. One is thus qualified to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, they've established this process of accepting shelter of a guru before taking initiation, which is the next anga. One takes shelter for a period of time, receiving the mercy of guru before taking to the formal initiation process. A very nice setup that is being created in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON, so that one may take to this process. But this is the most important anga, as it opens up access to all others. So accepting shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. We can speak so much about this, but we'll continue. Now, number 2 is to accept initiation from the spiritual master and to receive instructions. Initiation and instructions. It is not just initiation. Oh, I'm initiated now. No. The purpose of initiation is to receive instruction. Right? And one not only receives instruction, but one must accept the instruction. Guru says, rise early and chant, but the mind says, snooze. I'm tired. What are we going to do? So initiation means to actually receive and accept the instructions of the spiritual master. And we get some guidance in the commentary here about how one should see the spiritual master. And Rupa Goswami is providing evidence from Sage Prabuddha, who is speaking to King Nimi, and says, my dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master not only as a spiritual master, but also as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supersoul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God, because he is the external manifestation of Krishna. This is confirmed in every scripture, and a disciple should accept the spiritual master as such. So we see how the disciple accepts the spiritual master as a representative of Krishna. And thus one treats the spiritual master in the same regard as Krishna himself. Now, the Guru is not Krishna, very important. Guru is not Krishna, but because he is the representative of Krishna, the disciple treats Guru as the same as he would treat Krishna himself. No difference in how it is treated. But again, the Guru does not confuse, the disciple does not confuse that the Guru is Krishna. Right? So, here Rupa Goswami is speaking about the importance specifically of Diksha, of this formal initiation process. There are three types of gurus. Most commonly, the guru who introduces us to the process of devotional life. Then the guru who guides us, who instructs us, who provides us instructions. That is a Shiksha guru. And then the third is the Diksha guru, one who gives us formal initiation. Right? Both Shiksha guru and Diksha guru are very, very important in our spiritual process. In our Guru Parampara, there is an emphasis on Shiksha guru. But the formal initiation process is what is being described here, and it is very, very important for us. And what is Diksha? Let us spend a minute discussing what is this Diksha process. We're very fortunate. We're here in Detroit, just had an opportunity to experience and witness the formal initiation of several wonderful personalities into the Guru Parampara. So what is this Diksha? It is the formal acceptance of a disciple's 1, commitment, and 2, faith. So the disciple surrenders with faith and takes vows, a commitment, to follow the instructions of Guru. The vows to follow the regular principles, the vows to chant rounds, to read Srila Prabhupada's books. So this, with faith, the disciple makes a commitment, a vow, an unbreakable promise. And so when does the commitment to Guru develop? It comes when one has deep faith that the Guru can help. My material life is useless, futile, helpless, and my spiritual master can help. I have so much faith in the spiritual master. Then commitment comes, the ability to execute the vows. Right? So commitment and faith is the only way that one can properly follow the instructions. If there is some doubt, then we'll not follow the instructions, because there will be many obstacles. Rise early. Yes, I'm tired. Those obstacles will come. But if there is faith that the Guru's instruction will give me perfection, then the commitment to follow the instruction comes. So it makes sense? Faith in the potency of Guru will lead to the commitment to follow the instructions. Right? If we don't have full faith that Guru knows, then we'll hesitate. We won't commit fully. So until one has faith that they need a Guru and that the Guru can save them, the commitment will not be there. So we must try to develop this faith. Right? It's like a person jumping off of a plane. If they have faith that the parachute will open and that they know how to use it, then they'll commit to the process. So similarly, one must acquire this faith in the potency of Guru, and that faith comes from Shastra. Our own convictions may be weak due to the influence of the material energy, but Shastra gives us perfect evidence. And Rupa Goswami is saying this is the second of the most important angas of devotional service. One must accept initiation in order to make complete spiritual progress. So what happens in Diksha? There are 4 aspects to this. I didn't list them out on the slides, but just briefly. That 1, the Guru connects via a transparent via medium. That is the terminology Srila Prabhupada would use. A transparent via medium from our heart connected back to the lotus feet of Krishna. So it is a pipe that is allowing the mercy of Krishna to flow directly into our heart. And that pipe is enabled by the Guru through the process of Diksha. Because Guru is the messenger carrying the message of God. It is transparent, meaning that the Guru does not write the message, does not create the message, but is carrying forward the message from Krishna. That is an authorized bona fide Guru. Guru teaches only what Srila Prabhupada taught, and Srila Prabhupada taught only what his Guru taught, and what his Guru taught, and so on and so forth. So this is a transparent via medium that is connected into the heart. That is the first. Then the meaning of Diksha, D-I, means to receive knowledge. To receive knowledge in the heart. Divya Gyan Nidya Prakashita. That the Guru enlightens us with knowledge so that we can achieve perfection in devotional service. Just like we say, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. The spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Right? So we get knowledge from Guru. And this is very, very important. And Prabhupada says here, a person who has unflinching faith in God and the spiritual master, everything becomes revealed very easily. Meaning the Guru is who reveals this knowledge. We have doubts. We have questions. We don't have absolute conviction. And it is the Guru who will reveal with this torch of knowledge this information. So that is the first part of Diksha. D-I-D. Means to receive knowledge, to exhaust our doubts, and to enhance our conviction. And Sha means to gain relief from all the sinful reactions. The Guru actually assumes the disciple's sins and passes on to his Guru and to his Guru, all the way back to Krishna. This is the mercy of Krishna that is willing to deliver us from all the sinful reactions of the past, so that we may make unencumbered progress on the path to devotional service. One doesn't take initiation to become free from their sins. No. Krishna is willing to free us from our sins so that we then may move very rapidly in the process of devotional service. Just like if I'm walking and I have 2 or 3 very heavy bags, it is difficult for me to make progress from point A to point B. And if someone comes and says, let me help you with your luggage, sir, we are very eager to give our luggage so that we may be able to walk very freely. This is what Guru does. Willing to take all our past baggage. Not so that we can acquire more baggage, more sins. No. So that we may very rapidly make progress back home, back to Godhead. So this is the aspect of Diksha. And the fourth is that by the mercy of Guru, he loosens the grip of Maya within our heart. Yeah, we have so many attachments and so many hankerings and difficulties in practicing our bhakti. It is the mercy of Guru who can loosen that grip of Maya in our heart and eradicate her. So this is the extreme potency of Guru, that inserts this transparent via medium, 1. 2, brings knowledge into our heart to eradicate our doubts and to enhance our faith and conviction, relieves us of our past baggage, our sins, and 4, unlocks the grip of Maya upon us. So the great power of this process of initiation. And what should be our attitude to Guru who provides this? Srila Prabhupada says that the attitude of the disciple should be to satisfy the bona fide spiritual master. Then it will be very easy for him to understand spiritual knowledge. This is confirmed in the Vedas, and Rupa Goswami will further explain that. So the mood of the disciple is to be very grateful for the great gift that the disciple has been given. And so the mood should be to try to please the spiritual master. Guru gives us so many things. Right? And we should understand that actually we are never qualified to take Diksha. To give our sins to somebody, how we could achieve such qualifications. To be connected directly to Krishna via a transparent via medium, how we could ever qualify for such. We are actually never qualified. But by the intense mercy of Guru, responding to our intense desire, Guru overlooks our shortcomings and provides us with this most wonderful benediction of initiation. So we should always feel unqualified. If we feel I am ready, I am qualified, it means we have not understood actually what we are receiving, because we are never qualified. We simply desire intensely, and Guru, having full knowledge, being empowered by Krishna, Shakshad Harit Vena, the Guru is directly empowered by Krishna. Guru knows what is in our heart and when we are ready. Okay? So now the third, we see a very common theme in these first five, all relating to Guru. So important is Guru in our practice of devotional service. So the third is to serve the spiritual master with faith and confidence. So we approach the spiritual master in the mood of rendering loving service with great humility. We hear faithfully from the Guru, and it brings us to the position of loving service. Actually, the Guru teaches us how to love and surrender to Krishna. By surrendering to Guru, one learns ultimately how to surrender to Krishna. So the first two angas of accepting shelter and taking initiation brings us to this point, which is to serve lovingly the spiritual master. And it is the utmost benediction one can have, which is to serve the spiritual master. So Krishna consciousness is about changing the mood from a selfish mood to a serving mood. It is developing this service mentality. And that is what Guru gives us. And so why serve the Guru? We see here in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 17th chapter, verse 27, stated by Krishna, "My dear Uddhav, the spiritual master must be accepted not only as my representative, but as my very self. He must never be considered on the same level with an ordinary human being. One should never be envious of the spiritual master, and one may be envious of an ordinary man. The spiritual master should always be seen as a representative of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, and by serving the spiritual master, one is able to serve all the demigods." And who is speaking this verse? Krishna himself. That he is Krishna saying himself, one must serve the spiritual master. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Tadvini paripatena pariprashnena sevya upakdikshanti te gyanam gyaninas tata darshina," that one must approach a spiritual master and render humble service. So Krishna himself is instructing in Srimad Bhagavatam. We see in Bhagavad Gita, this most important. Right? Srila Prabhupada always said, "I am but a lowly servant of my Guru." He had thousands of disciples and 108 temples, world fame, but he felt that he was simply an insignificant servant to his spiritual master. So 100% of our efforts should be to serve the Guru. This is the most important thing we can do. We get strength in our spiritual life from Krishna through the spiritual master. So when we render service to Guru, Guru and Krishna are pleased, and the mercy begins to flow. And this is the experience of all who have taken this to this process. Right? And Krishna becomes pleased when the spiritual master is pleased. We have no ability, no knowledge how to actually serve Krishna. But by pleasing Guru, we will learn how to ultimately please Krishna. And all of our service that we render to Krishna, it is actually first offered to Guru. And Guru offers to his Guru, to his Guru, and ultimately to Krishna. So our ability to offer even service to Krishna, it goes through the spiritual master. So this is very important. And how do we practically render service? We may say, well, I am not, with my spiritual master on a day-to-day basis. I don't see him. I don't speak to him daily. How I can render service? Remember, Srila Prabhupada's whole life was service to his Guru. But you may not know, but if you've read Lilamrita, you know. Srila Prabhupada only met his Guru in person a handful of times. Rendering service is not physical proximity. Rendering service means to follow the instructions. Whatever instructions Guru gives, by following those, that is direct service to the Guru. It is not about physical service. Again, Srila Prabhupada met his Guru personally only a few times, handful of times. But his whole life was dedicated to serving Guru. So by following the instructions, whatever instructions we receive from our spiritual master, by following those daily, we are directly, every day, rendering service. Okay? We can continue for another few hours on this topic, but in the interest of hitting some of the other angas, we'll continue. So number 4 is to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, the saintly persons. Right? Srila Prabhupada comments that because by such following one can achieve the desired result with no chance of lamenting or being baffled in this progress. Right? So this following is very important. It is not that we only follow our own Guru. No, we follow all bona fide Gurus and all previous acharyas. So Srila Rupa Goswami is guiding us here that we follow all bona fide Gurus and previous acharyas. Because they all speak the same thing in a bona fide Guru Parampara. Yes, we may take Diksha from one Guru. That is there. But we follow in the footsteps of all bona fide spiritual masters. And this is the part of the check and balance system of this Guru Sadhu Shastra. Guru speaks only what is in Shastra and what has been spoken by the previous acharyas. The messenger carrying the message of Krishna through Parampara and what is given in Shastra. Right? So this is the qualification of the spiritual master, is a servant of their own spiritual master. This is Parampara. Right? So this Guru Sadhu Shastra is the check and balance system which allows us to find a bona fide spiritual master. Is this Guru speaking what has been spoken by the previous acharyas, following the previous acharyas? And is this Guru speaking what is in Shastra? This is the evaluation. Not how many years they've been practicing, or what color their dress is, or what land or birth they have taken. That is not the qualification. Are they speaking what has been spoken previously? And are they following Shastra? That is the check. So thankfully in Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON we have this, pre-authorization system where bona fide spiritual masters are given the ability and the right to initiate disciples who are following this process. Right? So this is the important aspect. Following, again, is very, very important in our spiritual process, so that we may not be baffled on the path, as Srila Prabhupada says. There's no chance of lamenting if we just follow one who has had success. 5, to inquire about the religious principles. Krishna said that one must inquire submissively. If we're serious to know, we must inquire. We use our intelligence to ask questions. How to follow these 64 angas, how to advance, how to avoid offenses. We must be very eager to inquire from the spiritual master. And again, inquiry from the spiritual master does not require physical proximity. One can inquire through the spiritual medium. This is a spiritual relationship. We may not have immediate faith in it, but start doing it. Inquire from spiritual master on a daily basis, and you will see how answers will come to your life through your readings, through your interactions with other devotees, through your service. It will happen. But this inquiry is very important. It is not a passive process. So we render service and we inquire. This is the relationship. Okay, so we spent quite a bit of time on the first 5. They all relate to the importance of Guru in our process. So now we'll move through some of the other angas. We'll just hit a few of them. We won't discuss all of them. But every one of them, it was given with this scriptural evidence of its importance. So we talk about residing in the holy dhams. You know, the holy dhams, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, very important for us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, established and went there, spent much time. And we understand that the holy dham is beyond just the holy dham in physical terms. It is a spiritual indication. Wherever Krishna is being served, wherever Krishna is the center of all attention, that is Vrindavan. So our Devasadan Mandir here in Detroit, all the temples, they are also the holy dham, because Krishna is the center of intention. We are being guided that one should accept what is necessary. What is the guideline? How do we know what is necessary? We take what is needed to keep the body and soul together, so that the body may be a vehicle in rendering devotional service. That should be our metric. What do I need to maintain this body? Yes, we should not endure artificial or unnecessary austerities, nor should we take on unnecessary luxuries. What is necessary so that I may perform service? We discussed this in the Nectar of Instruction. We'll see this again in the Shri Upanishad, talking about the quota that we have. So Srila Prabhupada, he says here in this accepting what is necessary, I just wanted to read one of the quotes, that it is better if one fixes up a regulative principle according to his own ability and then follow that vow without fail. So it's very important that we make a commitment and then don't deviate from it. So we should not neglect the principles of devotional service. We should not take on more than we can handle. Sometimes in enthusiasm we go too far and then that cannot remain steady. So we should, again, from a spiritual perspective as well, accept what we can take and do it very steadily. Once we start a practice, we should not go backwards. We should not stop it. Other following of Ekadashi. Tomorrow is Ekadashi. We should take to the process some austerity. We have limited austerity in our devotional service, but this is one important austerity. Utmost importance of following Ekadashi. And the point is that we limit our intake so that we have more time to focus on Krishna. We have to spend less time cooking, less time managing the needs of the body, and more time in our devotional life. It is, every couple of weeks an opportunity to do more devotional service, particularly chanting and reading. So this is Ekadashi. One should give up the company of non-devotees. Reading this, sometimes we think, wow, such strong recommendations are given here. In the Katyayana Samhita, it is stated that even if one is forced to live within a cage of iron or in the midst of a blazing fire, he should accept this position rather than live with non-devotees who are through and through against the supremacy of the Lord. Similarly, in the Vishnu Rahasya, there is a statement to the effect that one should prefer to embrace a snake, a tiger, or an alligator, rather than associate with persons who are worshippers of various demigods, who are impelled by various desires. So we can see how strong one is guided to avoid the intimate association with non-devotees. Of course, we'll interact, but to take association, we should be very mindful, very careful. To avoid constructing too many temples. So, this Anga, sometimes we wonder, Srila Prabhupada constructed 108 temples. Or right now there's a great effort being put forth by, society, our movement, to construct this great TOVP. So what is this? Is this contrary to this regulation? So no, the consciousness must be right. The purpose of building temples must be to spread Krishna consciousness, not to acquire fame, not to, receive opulent living quarters, or to have some fortune or financial security. No. The purpose for building the temples must be to spread Krishna consciousness, not to increase the number of followers we have. So our purpose must be very pure and clear. To spread the preaching message in every town and village, we can establish a temple in every town and village. Right? Not that, I've built so many temples, I've had so many disciples. No, not attachment or pride of such accomplishments. So if money comes, then one should use it to build these spiritual hospitals, but not endeavor too much. The next, avoiding reading too many books. One may wonder, wait a minute, we are studying this nectar of devotion. What does this mean? The point is that we should stick to the core books. We should read enough to obtain the desire to practice bhakti. So there is a point of too much, meaning there is an endless amount of Shastra to read, all the Puranas, the different Vedas, the different Upanishads. But the point is that we should read thoroughly to inspire us to the path of devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada recommends the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, this nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, Shri Upanishad, these basic books, core books I should say, not basic books, these core books, we should study fully, inside and out, backwards and front. But we don't have to go beyond that. Enough to bring us to the process of devotional service. One should be straightforward in loss and in gain. Indifferent. If things come materially, great. If they don't, no problem. It is all Krishna's mercy. That should be our mood. And in rendering devotional service, our mindset, our experience should be very equal. When we do devotional service, I'm enjoying this service, I'm not enjoying that service. Our pleasure should not come from the result. It should come from the execution of the service. That is where the pleasure comes. All services, if the goal is to please Krishna, should be equally pleasing to us. From picking up trash to decorating the deity, it is all for Krishna's pleasure. And actually, the lower, the more menial the service, the more chance we have to please Krishna. Think about it. Krishna will think, who but my most dearest devotee will come and clean the toilets of my temple? Only one who loves me most. Anyone will volunteer to offer me arti or to do some, very desirable service. But only one who loves me most will come and do the menial service. So which service has the most ability to please Krishna? The one that only his dearmost, only those who love him very much would do. So sometimes we get jaded in our consciousness of different types of service. But remember, anyone who would volunteer to do the most menial service must be very dear to Krishna. And Krishna must be very dear to them. So, that is one. Many others, one should not disrespect the demigods. Right? We must offer respect to all the demigods. And at the same time, one worships only Krishna. So respect to all, but worships Krishna. That is the important purport. We should not become disrespectful to the demigods through our exclusive devotion to Krishna. Krishna says, Ma may come, surrender only unto me. But he does not say then, you disrespect others. No. So one should respect all the demigods, but one only worships Krishna in pure devotional service. Giving no pain to living entities, even giving mental discomfort, playing games with devotees or giving difficulty by making things difficult, that is not good. Right? So we see these qualities of the devotees here. Don't associate with non-devotees, not giving harm to anybody, very straightforward in the dealings, no pride, building temples, very calm. Right? So these are the rest in chapter 7. Again, number 19 is covered in chapter 8. We'll cover next week. So just, I'm sorry, this actually is mislabeled. It should say chapter 9. So just a few more we'll cover here briefly. The blasphemy of devotees. One should avoid this. Very, very dangerous. It poisons our heart. It destroys our devotional service. As quickly as a mad elephant, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained, can destroy a beautiful garden. It takes just a few seconds for an elephant to destroy a whole garden. Like that, our years and years and years of devotional service can be destroyed by Vaishnava Aparadha. So you should be very careful not to criticize devotees. And understand that whatever we may be seeing, we might not see the whole intent. So you should be very careful. And even hearing the blasphemy of a devotee makes us culpable. By giving audience to such conversation, it is just as bad as the person speaking. So our Shastra gives us very strong injunctions what we should do. Our first approach should be to defeat that person by expert argument. If we can't do that, then our next step, we should give up our life. But if we cannot do that, then we should very quickly move away, run away from such a situation. Srila Prabhupada says, if you can't do the first two, then you can do at least a third, which is run away from such things. We should stay away from people who are very fault-finding. It's a very addictive behavior. Did you hear about so-and-so? Did you hear this happen? That is not our job. Krishna is the supreme knower. He knows all. We do not need to tell him or others. Don't worry. He has everything. But if we are in a management position, if we have this position to correct somebody, we must then make sure our motive is pure. That our motive in illuminating a fault is to help them progress in devotional service. If that is your role in somebody's service, then yes, you may need to do such. But first of all, that should be our responsibility, assigned to us by somebody. Somebody of higher authority must give us that service. We don't I am now, here to help you. So we should be very mindful of that. Putting tilak on. We should point our tilak on every day. Putting the tilak on the 12 parts of the body. It is a sign of our devotion. Understanding that this body is a temple of Vishnu. And it is for the protection against the Yamadutas. The Yamadutas are not allowed to approach anyone who is wearing tilak and neck beads. So this is one of the very easy angas we should do every day. If you cannot wear marked tilak in your office place, at least you can do with water. With water you can mark your forehead with tilak. With the rest of your body, which is covered by your outer garments, you should mark the 12 spots with Gopi Chandan every day. In the beginner's guide to devotional service, there is the mantras we chant, but this is a very important part of our spiritual process to mark our body with these important things. So many others, accepting garlands, we see very potent. We can become free from sins, dancing for the deities. When we clap our hands, the birds of sinful reactions go away. Just like if you clap, if a bird is sitting, they'll run away. Like that, by just the clapping of the hands, the dancing of the deities, we're burning away sins from thousands of lifetimes. To bow and stand before the deity, to go to the temple, circumambulate the temple. All these things we see great potency. Right? To observe arti. I wanted to read, this is I think the last one in this chapter that is given, that says that in the Skanda Purana there is a following description of the result of seeing arti, the worship of the deity. If someone sees the face of the Lord while arti is going on, he can be relieved from all sinful reactions coming from many, many thousands and millions of years past. He is even excused from the killing of a brahmana or similar prohibited activities. How powerful. Just seeing the Lord receiving arti. It is why Srila Prabhupada established this Sunday feast program, where one observes arti, one hears philosophy, and then honors prasadam. This observance of arti is very, very important. Many times in our Sunday feast programs these days, we don't even go and observe arti. We just come, honor prasad, maybe observe the end of arti, but are we really seeing now the great benefit we get? And even the order is very important. We must first observe arti, then take philosophy, and then honor prasad. This is the setup that Srila Prabhupada established. And actually, if you see all of these, archana, doing deity service, Krishna has come in this Archa Vigraha form to accept our service, to help us. So many of the angas that we have discussed relate to deity service, the garlands, the dancing, the bowing, standing, circumambulating, going to the temple. This japa and sankirtana. Japa is the internal, the quiet, meaning our own chanting of the holy names. Sankirtana is the propagation of the holy names. A person who chants for the benefit of others, this is the sankirtana process. Right? So these different things, you can see Srila Prabhupada established these temples in a way that we can do so many of these angas. Taking of Charnamrita. Every day, time we go to the temple, are we taking Charnamrita? We see the great potency of this, right? In the Padma Purana, I'll just read that one real quick. It's very, very powerful. What happens when one takes Charnamrita? Even a person who has never been able to give in charity, who has never been able to perform a great sacrifice, who has never been able to study the Vedas, who has never been able to worship the Lord, or in other words, even one who has never done any pious activities, will be eligible to enter into the kingdom of God if he simply drinks the Charnamrita which is kept in the temple. It is why Srila Prabhupada established that Charnamrita must be kept in the temple for all visitors to take. Such important and powerful. Right? The last one I wanted to spend a few minutes on before we end is this submission. This is the personal prayers. This is not reciting Shastric prayers or other prayers. That is the next anga, recanting the great prayers of other wonderful devotees. But this is one's own personal submission to the Lord, one's own prayers. And so what can we pray for? There are 3 types of prayers that we can offer. This Samprarthanatmika, which is expressing one's heartfelt desires for spontaneous service. This desire to awaken Bhava Bhakti, this strong desire of spontaneous love. And our scriptures explain in an analogy, just it is natural and spontaneous for a young boy and a young girl to be attracted without any effort. In this same way, let me have this natural attraction for Krishna. Prabhupada says, without any training, there's a natural attraction due to sex impulse. No training needed. It just happens. Like that, one may pray, let there be this natural love for you, Krishna, without any training. Let it happen naturally. That is a very powerful mood of prayer. The second type of submission is to express our great insignificance before the deity, making us very humble. Right? The Uttamadhikari thinks themselves lower than all, and thus they cannot preach to anybody. But this, I am this insignificant servant, so fallen am I. That is another very nice submission before the deity. And the third is to express a very specific desire to be engaged in service. So everybody, we all have this eternal service in the spiritual world. And as that becomes awakened in one's heart, one has this desire to render that service to Krishna, as Narada Muni had. So in this section, Srila Prabhupada speaks significantly about the importance of this lolium, this greed, right? This, intense. Ramananda Roy speaks to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Krishna consciousness, it can be obtained only by paying one price, and that is intense greed to obtain it. That is the price to get it, this intense greed. So, I'll just read some this last paragraph by Srila Prabhupada. In other words, one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn this small technique. He should be very eager and actually cry to be engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lolium. And such tears are the price for the highest perfection. If one develops this lolium or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter into the kingdom of God. Otherwise, there is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is this lolium lala samai, or desire and great eagerness. So this eagerness is very, very important. So many others, taking prasad, smelling the flowers, like a snake-bitten person is awoken by the smelling of an herb. By smelling the flower offered to the Lord, one can awaken their Krishna consciousness. So, Srila Prabhupada has established our temples in a way in which so many of these things can be incorporated. By studying these, we now see why. And we don't just become ritualistic when the flower comes off the altar and we just smell it. No, we actually smelling the direct mercy of the Lord to help us make progress in devotional service. Taking Charnamrita, bowing before the deity, dancing, accepting the garland. So many of these angas. And our goal can be how we can implement more and more of these angas into our devotional life. So, I'll end here. We went a little bit long with presentation today, but any comments or questions about the topics discussed today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dhanyavad Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dhanyavad Pranam.
I was looking at the nectar of sorry, Prabhuji, not the nectar, but the waves of devotion.
Yes.
And is it the fourth one, Prabhuji? It's following the footsteps of the saintly persons.
Yes.
There are. It says just towards the end of that paragraph, it says, without faithful adherence to the rules of the scriptures found in Shruti, Smriti, Purnanandi, and Pancharatra. Are these books, Prabhuji? Are these 4 books?
No. So each of the Shastra are categorized by either being Shruti, meaning are they heard or one's revealed knowledge. So each of the different Shastras are categorized into these different categories. So these are types of Shastra. They're not names of specific Shastra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanyavad. Yes.
I had a question. We talk about circumambulating the temple. Now I just want to know, how do we actually do that in the Radha Kunjabihari temple? I've never done that. I mean, if I want to do how do I do that?
Yes, many of our temples that have been purchased have some limitations in being able to circumambulate the temple. Technically, you could do it, but it is not very practical in our Devasadan Mandir. So we understand that we can also circumambulate in our consciousness. You'll see many will circumambulate Srila Prabhupada in our temple, which is very, very, very easy and doable. But in our temple in Devasadan Mandir, you cannot do so easily. So in our consciousness, we can be circumambulating the temple. But any of the when a newly constructed temple is made, they are made in such a way that one can do. They call it a parikrama marg. They make a pathway around the altar so that can be done. In many of our temples that have been built, but the purchased temples often have structural limitations that don't allow it.
Okay, Prabhu. And one more question was towards the end when you talked about the submission in the prayers. One is the heartfelt desire for Bhav Bhakti. Second, I think you said about how insignificant we are. Third one is like the desire to render the devotional service to Krishna. Now, is this something like a specific one which we are talking about here, or something that we as a living entity are basically what we used to do in the spiritual world? I mean, could you elaborate upon that part? What devotion? Is there a specific devotional service or general we are talking?
Yeah, no. This relates to our eternal service, right? Our eternal bhav. So we all have this nitya seva that we do. Like Narada Muni, for example, right? His service is fanning the Lord. So the desire develops in his heart to perform that service. So that is the service. Not today I'd like to offer Rajbhog to the deities. Not like that specific. This is as that consciousness develops. In prior age, not era, even prior generations, the Guru used to reveal each of his disciples' eternal service. But that, due to the influence of Maya and the development of Kali Yuga, that became difficult because the disciples, immaturity in being able to understand that service. And so the Guru is actually, starting with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, stopped revealing that to their disciples. But it used to be the case like that. So specifically, that is what we're referring to, one's eternal service in the spiritual realm. That is the one that one meditates on while doing their chanting, their desiring and envisioning them doing that service.
So basically, we are talking about is that service, eternal service, that would be not revealed now. It's basically that if one person reaches the Bhav Bhakti stage, then only I think that we are talking about, right? That this cannot be at any of us state.
It won't be revealed. We'll know it when we go back home to Godhead. That's when we'll understand it, and regain that again, because that's our eternal position. Okay? So it'll be revealed to us when we regain it in our purified state.
Okay, Prabhuji. So basically, what we can do is practically what we can do is the first
Yes.
two, at least we can have
Yes.
something that we can do.
Yes, that is a good submission. And again, the key in the submission is this greed, this intensity for it, right? We should learn to cry for Krishna, cry for this mercy, to have this spontaneous love. And the service that we perform now, again, is under the guidance of Guru. Right? So Guru is guiding us today how to practice the angas of devotional service. So we are practicing these 64 angas under the guidance of Guru, for the purpose of, remember, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the goal of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is to awaken Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. And Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti awakens Bhava Bhakti, which awakens Prema Bhakti. Right? So these 64 angas are the regulative processes that then will awaken the spontaneous mood. So in our conditioned state, we practice with great sincerity these sadhana principles, these Vaidhi sadhana principles, under the guidance of Guru, and we'll make success. And that's why Srila Rupa Goswami explains the first 5 all relate to the importance of Guru. And ultimately awakening this one. So, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Nice questions. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if nothing else, thank you very much. So next week we'll discuss chapters 8 and 10 and continue on and reviewing these angas. Hope you enjoy them and reading the different, we didn't discuss all of them today, but please read them and understand the Shastric evidence for why these are so important. They will inspire us to actually do them. If we just do them without knowing the why, we don't become so enthusiastic when the Charnamrita is there, when the flowers are there to attend the arti, these things. We become more inspired when we understand the why. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki